Hi, I'm so glad to see you here today. My name is Kayla with The Real Stuff. I have 2 kids, Wyatt and Lily, and 3 pets, Hank, Pepper, and Aries. We live in East Texas. It gets hot and cold at the same time, but we've had such a colorful life that we love to share it with everyone and get back to the basics with how things were meant to be. We hope that you enjoy our channel. Please like and subscribe.
Really being out here, I remember even when I felt the worst. When I felt the worst, I still managed to come out here every single day, even if I didn't feel like it that morning, and just keep doing things. And, you know, it's really starting to turn out. So I'm going to start from, well, I guess we'll start over here. I love this sign. I got this on Amazon, and I got the wreath on Amazon. I can do both, but we live here in a golf course, and I would say twice a week at least, people come knocking on our doors to try to sell us things, and got tired of it. So I put that up. It's actually really helped. If you don't have one, it looks cute, and I recommend getting it. My kids and I made this several years ago, this sign up top. I don't know, their handprints are so small. I think my daughter was 3 and my son was 5. So we made that in our apartment that we had in San Antonio. And I think we've been in Texas for almost 10 years now, on and off, but mostly 10 years total. And we still are attached to this because it's a memory that we have. I have these succulents up here. They do pretty well in the shade, but they also don't grow too fast, and they grow easily in these little containers. This plant right here, my friend that does the hiking trips, she had given this to me during our last hiking trip, so it's still alive, and it's doing okay in the shade. Ooh, look, there's a bloom starting. Yay, finally. These little stones were my mom's. So I had planted in here quite a few things just to see what would come up. So this back row here that you see, this is carrots. There's too much shade right here. They're not getting enough sun, and I can tell you the difference you're about to see in a few minutes. This is a bell pepper. That's another bell pepper. Those are both the Aloha bell peppers. They are red, orange, yellow combo mix. And I had gotten them at the grocery store, and I just decided to see if they would grow, which they did. This is a marigold right here. That's a basil. And these are some herbs, like not really. See, I had planted a bunch of chives here. I also planted onions, and those didn't grow at all. I think I have like 2 little onions sprouted over here. And that's it. 1 and 2. And that's what you get when you have shade. Too much shade. It's another marigold, and I believe this is a sunflower, which I had some bird seed out here, and that is what that came from, but I'm not going to pull it out because I think it might be cool. And you'll probably notice that quite a bit of my garden is a little bit clustered together, but we are limited on space, so I do what I can where I can, and see what happens. Every year is kind of like a little bit of an expensive experiment, but it's something that I love and something that makes me feel better, so I'm willing to do it anyway. So here's the other carrots, right? I planted them both at the same time. You can see the difference here. Totally amazing. These are onions, which I did opt to go pick up the bulbs instead of, that guy's got a little crusty on him. See, you can see that bulb head right there. So I opted to pick up the bulbs instead of the seed, because the seed didn't do very well. it didn't do anything at all, really. So I think the seed that I had was a little bit old. I'd bought them last year, and I guess, you know, maybe that packet just didn't go well, which can happen. It's a you know, something that happens when you buy seed. You're kind of dealing with the possibility of germination rates being low. However, most of them do grow, and they do okay, so it's worth it. This is basil, again, Loja bell peppers. That is green and red bell peppers, which initially did not germinate, but when I brought them outside, they seemed to germinate all of a sudden. Not too many weeds. A little piece of trash. Not too many weeds, but you do have to keep on top of that. But I feel like this year, so this dirt right here, you can see it's nice and fluffy. I need to water a little bit, but it's nice and fluffy. And I had followed Mr. Prigioni there on YouTube too, Team Grow. They have, or he has, a method, and a lot of people have different methods. There's a little bit of an eggshell. He has a method that you mix 1/3 compost, 1/3 peat moss, and 1/3 vermiculite or perlite. And I kind of try to do that. I ran out of a little bit of money, and I know we're talking about finances here, right? Especially for anybody trying to grow and you don't have a lot. It is moist under there, you can see that. So they're not dying, but they're getting enough to start. And this is May 3rd. So I had started these in trays a while ago. I feel like they should be a little further ahead. But again, this is a little bit of a shady area, and it also does get really hot. So it's hard to balance that, but I do think that we're gonna have a good outcome. This is yard-long green beans, and I just kind of threw this together with some sticks. I had found this stick at the lake, and I carved all the bark off of it a few years ago, and this year I decided I would you know, throw it on here and see. You know, this is some wood that I had left over that I'd used during my business, and I just threw all this stuff together and made a little garden bucket. I drilled some holes in here. There's some bark in there. I think there was a pea. Oh, there it is, way down in there. He might not make it, but anyway, these green beans get to be a whole, sometimes 18 inches long. This pot right here are some peppers, I believe. I'm waiting to see what happens. They popped up after I changed out a lot of soil, and they're either going to be jalapenos or Scotch bonnet. So I'm waiting to see once they pop up a little bit taller, which I might need to move them because they're not getting enough sun right there, but hopefully that will turn out well. These 5 bins are full of potatoes, and I think, yep, down there at the end, one of them is starting to sprout up, which is great. I believe that one's a store-bought potato, but we have several different kinds in here. We have the store-bought, look at that. Yeah. Yay! We have store-bought yellow. I also have the purple potatoes, and the baby red potatoes, and a couple other Yukon, I believe it's Yukon Gold. We'll see. This is a pot of basil. I had several more basil pop up that I didn't really plan for, but they did, and so I just kind of put them all in here, and hopefully they'll do okay. Some of them might be getting a little too much sun. I might need to trade them out with the peppers, huh? Maybe we should swap them. Up here, you probably saw all these herbs. This is oregano. It smells amazing. Like, you can rub it, and my whole hand just smells like it's so beautiful. This is thyme. This is cilantro, which they're a little crowded in here, I'm not gonna lie. So I did move some of them to a different area, but they do look really great. This is arugula, and that looks really great too. But again, they are pretty crowded because I dumped the seeds just to see what would pop up. It's hard with those spices because they produce, you know, a lot or not at all, and you don't really know what you're gonna get. Like the same amount of seeds I dumped here, I also dumped here. And I feel like time, like I've tried that a few different years. Thyme is a really kind of difficult thing to grow or get to be happy. That's a weed. So, you know, one step at a time though. These are more green beans. You can see them go all the way to the top. And I had tried this method, the whole TP thing, so they can trellis. And this right here is a copper wire, which you could probably see over there that I had a copper wire as well. And I wanted to try the electroculture thing, which a lot of you probably see on TikTok. If you do follow any garden stuff. This tomato plant popped up at random. I have over 60 of them that have randomly popped up. I decided to leave this guy here because why not? The nitrogen from the beans fixes the soil so that the heavy feeders like the tomatoes can absorb it. Over here is, oh, there's a weed. We've got beets and carrots and tomatoes that randomly popped up. A lot of those. I still need to work on moving them out of here. Couple of onions in between there. That's a weed. It's just yank him out of there. Anyway, again, with the dirt, it's very soft. This method with the vermiculite, compost, and perlite works amazingly. And soil quality is really important. I didn't realize how important it was as I had started this whole process a few years ago, and I kept planting things and I kept adding stuff to the soil, like bags and bags. I tried mushroom compost, I tried black organic compost, like I had tried all these different things, and I was wondering, why is this not working? I keep putting more dirt in there. Well, it turns out that all of the dirt was full of rocks and this sand, literally sand, and it was compacted. And I didn't want to do the work to do it. But this year I decided to make the commitment and do the work. And I think we're really going to have some good results. And I think that being said, if you aren't willing to do the work, do you deserve the results? And I think the answer is no. If you're not willing to do the work, then you do not deserve the results. And I think the more people need to follow through with that. I think that is, well, it's either a grass or an onion. Let me smell it. Yep, that's an onion. Sweet. Let's see, I think this is a grass. Oops. Yeah, that one was a grass. That was an onion from seed that might have worked finally. Anyway, see, there's a few little weeds in here. I did buy some bark, which I have stacked up back here. I'll show you in a minute. And I am slowly putting it in my beds, but it's nice and cool back here. And the growth season is a little lagged right now, so I'm not really going to worry too much about it. But we do have a good crop started, and because this will take a little bit longer, I won't have to harvest everything at the same time. And here I have some more beans that I'd started to see. That guy right there. Oh, that was a squash beetle, and that's something that pisses me off. They're always here somehow, and I try to get rid of them, but they just keep coming back. So I've been working on some natural garden methods because I'd like to try to keep everything as organic as possible. However, you can't do everything perfectly every time, and you're going to have to sacrifice something at some point because insects do happen, especially here in the South. So anyway, I threw these beans in here as a kind of like excess choice later. The rest of this down here, we have some melons, and I'm not sure what all of them are because I had put them in a tray and they did not start to grow. So I dumped the trays out. Something is eating these beans. I dumped the trays out into the garden, and what happened was the trays then decided to grow, even though they were fully moistened and warm inside. So a lot of seedlings popped up that I thought were dead seedlings. So we'll see what some of these turn out to be. This was kind of just like a leftover bed that I have. I made all of these out of like old crappy pallets, and I just threw them together. There's no special artistry involved. They were not intended to last forever. These are peas back here. Again, more peas and more melony stuff. This is my kind of, we live in a small house, so we always have kind of limited space, but this is the bark that I'm planning on spreading out. So far it's been pretty good at protecting the soil. So, okay, the main bed. I bought this Mr. Stacky tray a few weeks ago, a few months ago. These are strawberries, which finally getting a red one. I'm so excited. Look at all these babies on here. They're just everywhere. And I really didn't know if this was gonna work. I've done the strawberries in the past, and I grew them over there in that bed in the middle, and it was just too shady. They weren't getting enough sun. And if it wasn't that, then they would die. I only had one die this year, so it makes me really excited. I do have a small pest problem. Not terribly bad, but every day I try to come out and I rotate this. Well, every other day, something like that. These are some marigold seedlings. I'd started them here because I ran out of room to do it in the tray, so I'm gonna move these out soon and get them somewhere else where they're gonna do a little bit better. But look at all those strawberries. It makes me so happy. My daughter loves strawberries. She is a strawberry child. Anyway, over here, okay, so this is the trellis. I built this using YouTube, so it's out there. These are like these red lilies. There's another one over there. I'll show you later. And they just pop up like a flower, and it's beautiful, right? But I think these ones, yeah, they bloomed already. And most of them have, so they may not bloom again, but they still look nice. I have several tomatoes in here. That's a volunteer tomato, and so is that. I didn't fight them, but they are doing well right there. I have some basil in here. This is a row of parsley that I just dumped the seeds to see if they would grow, which they did. So that's great. I've had these guys in here, these succulents, for several years now. Back when we were in San Antonio. So I want to say I've had them since 2015. And even though we had the freeze, the bottoms of them froze, but they still made it. And then finally last year I had my first blooms off of them, and that made me so happy. I'd never seen them bloom before, which they aren't the prettiest flower, but it was success. And so, you know, this is a store-bought tomato. So is that one in the middle. Anything with, if you see a tag by it, I put a tag by it. If it's store-bought, everything else is grown from seed. Because if it came from the store, then I put a thing in for it. Like this rosemary, this is store-bought. Somebody stepped on it or squished my little friend, but he's okay. Smells amazing. More and more tomatoes. Built the trellis, put those lines in. Ran out of the metal wire and did hemp cord. Over here, you can see these sprouting up. Those are dill. And I really am looking forward to those getting quite big. I didn't spread them out or thin them because I was running out of time and I got busy. But if they grow quite big, then I'll have plenty of dill to add to my pickles with the pickle cucumbers, which will be great later here in a few months. These are more peas and corn. Now, typically you would not want to place corn next to tomatoes because they're both heavy feeders. But I have fertilized in here a little bit. I also have some ash with nitrogen I'm going to put down. But the peas will climb the corn, and they will also fix the soil to bring more nitrogen to the corn so that they both won't be kind of depleting too much. But also, this is all brand new soil. So this bed was full of that sand, which you can see over there. You can clearly tell the difference. So the best soil out of this bed went into that over there.
which was just rocks. So I dug this thing all the way down and I put the sandy dirt over there to fill that up a little bit better. And then I got rid of the rest. I threw it down the backyard, and I was really able to put the new soil in here, mix it up. Every grain of soil in here has passed through my fingertips. This mint plant is way too big. He just grew huge. He survived the frost, but on top of that, like, the volume expanded insanely. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to trim him down over the next few days, and I'm gonna lay him out to dry and make some tea bags for mint tea. It's a lemon basil. This is a yellow squash, I believe. That, I believe, is a zucchini. That's a yellow squash over there. This is a patty pan squash, which I am really excited about because I haven't grown one before. These are some other, it's yellow or or zucchini. I can't remember because I grew them from seed. That I bought from the store. That is a gypsy sweet pepper. This, I believe, is a jalapeno. What is it? Yep, a jalapeno hot pepper. This is an eggplant, which I did buy from the store. And these are a bunch of the melon seeds that popped up. Now, what I do plan to do with them, because this garden is very small, in case you didn't notice, I'm going to let them crawl out over the lawn. But right now they're a little yellow, and I think they've been getting a little too much sunlight, so I may have to put some shade cloth out until they get a little bit stronger. Anyway, this little tray here, these are my beans, which you can tell from the side beans in the yard to these beans. There's a huge difference in the leaf growth. I did put the coils in here, like the electroculture talks about. I don't know if it's doing anything, but I did harvest a few beans off of this already, and you can still see some growing. These are multicolored beans. So I had planted green and purple. Okay, so in this pot, this is called Wandering Jew. And I also have these, it's an elephant ear, but it's a different version of it, the California elephant ear. And this year I'm so excited. These survived the freeze. And look at these beautiful flowers that are popping up. I've never seen it bloom still to this day. And finally this year we got some blooms, and a lot of these are doing really well. And I'm just so excited about what's coming. I think we're gonna do really well this year, and these feel just so happy and strong, and I think it's gonna be great. This I bought at Walmart for about $10, good deal, except the little light stopped working almost immediately after I turned it on, so that sucks. Up here I also have another tomato that I was gonna let trellis around this tree. This is Serrano hot pepper. Over here I have another green bell pepper because I thought that my green bell peppers weren't popping up, which they eventually did, so I had one from the store and one over there. This is an agave, and I have had this plant since we moved here in 2019 to this area, not San Antonio, but this area, and he's done so well. I mean, he has survived 2 freezes. He has just continued to multiply, and look at those dang, it's a security system right there. Anyway, I have a few marigolds in here. I believe this is ragweed, a weed. Few marigolds in here, and they are different colored marigolds. I bought a packet of a few seeds that were all different kinds, and so that made me pretty excited. I also have another succulent there. It does get really hot right here, and so that's why I'm kind of worried about these plants here, but I'm hoping for the best. Okay, this is my squash garden mostly. Winter squash, and this powdery stuff that I have in their leaves, that's ash that I had spread around in here, and it didn't do great. But I also accidentally sprayed too much of the cayenne pepper. So I had made a cayenne pepper bug deterrent spray, and when I sprayed it, it kept clogging up the nozzle of my sprayers, all of them. So I ended up taking the main nozzle off so it came out more like a stream, and it did end up burning the ends of some of these leaves, which you can see, which isn't great, but I know they'll recover well. I also can't say that I see it working. So that sucks, but that's a learning experience, and I feel like everyone wants to know about that. This is more corn I just stuck in here. These are some extra sunflowers and little melons maybe that popped up. I've got winter squash, spaghetti squash. This is Armenian cucumber. There we go. So they're supposed to grow big and curl like a snake. And I'm really excited about that coming up. They're not growing as quickly as I hoped, but apparently they do love hot weather. So we're gonna see how well that goes. The rest of these, again, more sunflowers. So I have taller sunflowers growing in the back, and then any sunflowers up here in the front are ornamental types. So like this is an ornamental type. Oh, look, it's getting a bloom. That makes me so excited. My daughter's gonna love it. More different types of squash. I've got butternut in here. I've also got, these are regular cucumbers. I've got more Armenian cucumbers. These are also regular cucumbers. These are the pickling cucumbers, and I tell you what, they are doing well. Like if you needed pickles, this place really wants to grow the pickles this year. And I'm not sure what this is. I thought it was a squash, but I see it appears to be some type of tree, so I'm probably gonna yank that out. I also have some sage and some savory down there, and then some anise here, which, you know, those are spices I really didn't need, but they came with my packet, so I threw them in. I built this bed 2 years ago, and I've been working on it slowly. I dumped all of the mushroom compost in here. That was a bad choice. And it actually was more barky than I intended. But it ended up turning into better soil after the next year. But I did mix that in with compost, the vermiculite, and peat moss. Another reason I chose vermiculite here is because it's more of a mineral, like a rock mineral, and it holds the moisture more than perlite would. And so that kind of assists with the same process as perlite, as to open up that soil so that there's good drainage, but it also absorbs that water. So when the plants need water, they can get it out of the vermiculite. And I really am glad to think about that. I feel like that's better than putting perlite in, which is like basically foam. And this tomato here on the end, I did not plant him. He just popped up in this bed, which I'm pretty sure this is grape tomatoes, several of them. And in here, this is my other trellis I was talking about. So I have other tomatoes, my extra tomatoes all the way down, 2 rows. Down in the middle, I've got some onion and garlic, and those are good with tomatoes. They are okay to be planted next to each other. I may, like this tomato here is not doing well, I may remove that and put a better one in. This is cilantro and all of the cracks. So I had dug this out by hand, this whole thing. It was like lawn, and I made this. This is zinnias, and these are called mallow flowers, and they're all gonna get pretty tall. There's basil, some more peppers all the way along here, basil, and then marigolds and basil and marigolds. And so I just did this with what I have, and I know, you know, finance-wise, it's a pain, but these bricks only cost like 67 cents or something, and we had a whole bunch up front. So I put them out here 2 bricks deep, and then I think I had about 2 bags of the organic fertilizer, and I used that in here mixed with everything. And then I lined it with rocks that we had, and I lined it with these other bricks and things that I had. Now, a lot of this rock, see these bigger rocks here, they were here when I moved in, but all of these smaller piles of rock, all of this rock was inside of here, and it really perturbed me while I was, see there is still some sand coming out of everything. It perturbed me because I was mixing all of this by hand, and there was just nothing but rocks in here, which no wonder I wasn't getting anything good out of it. Over here I have bird bath, which a lot of you know that most birds are not at your garden to take your food, they're to get the water out of it, which I need to change that water. But usually if you have a bird bath out, they will worry about the bird bath and not your plants. Down here I have a shrimp plant, which these little flowers look like shrimps as they grow, which I think is great. This is a very hardy plant. It doesn't need great soil, and it's just a cute little flower. Although I did catch a raccoon in that cage the other day, and she tore up this entire thing, and we tried to get her out and let her go, which we did eventually, but she was not happy. These are a bunch of birdseed sunflowers that fell out of here, and they just started popping up. You can see all the birdseed everywhere. But the squirrels come over here and volunteer tomatoes. Squirrels come over here and they drop all of that down here, and it ends up in birds, and it ends up being around. But we are trying to get rid of the squirrels and relocate them because they do not ever stop. These are some little pink flowers. I know they're going to be pink later. That's a weed because we've had them several years in a row pop up. Over here, I also know that this gets very dry, so we have cactus and more agave coming or planted in here, which will end up being the size of that guy over there. This is that beautiful purple flower I was talking about, and I would like for it to wind up here. I have this hanging bird feeder, and then I also have this plant here, which makes these cute little red flowers. So I'm waiting to see what happens with that. This is my neighbor's side from the yellow bushes on, which looks great. And more sunflowers, cactus. This is an amaryllis bulb, just like very similar to these lilies. And it will make a flower like that, but it'll have multiple heads at the top of it. Well, I guess, yeah, it's a lot like this. It's just a little bit of a hardier version. So usually these bloom out these beautiful red flowers, but it only happens once or twice a year, and then that's it. So now I have more cactus. Oop, something knocked this guy down. He'll grow new roots. Anyway, another